Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and on this edition is Anticipation, brought to us by Nintendo. Anticipation was one of the first original-style board games created for the Nintendo Entertainment System. The game combines elements of Trivial Pursuit and Pictionary in order to make an interesting and fun multiplayer experience that can also be played single-player. The game features 4 different difficulties, and your goal in the game is to collect 4 different colored squares by solving 4 different types of puzzles and moving up to the next level. On the easy and normal difficulty, there's only 3 levels to conquer, but on hard and very hard, you actually have to conquer 4 levels. In this run of the game, I'll be playing as a single-player experience against 3 computer opponents and playing on the hard difficulty. So here we go with Anticipation for the NES. While the game was published by Nintendo, it was actually developed by Rare. You'll notice that instantly recognizable David Wise-style NES music. David Wise, the composer for Rare, who made not only so many amazing NES soundtracks like Iron Sword Wizards and Warriors, but also later games like the Donkey Kong Country series. When we start off the game, we'll start off on a yellow space. Our goal is to collect all 4 colors and then move up to level 2, collect 4 colors there, then move up to level 3, 4 colors there, and then move up to level 4, and once we get 4 colors on level 4, we move on and complete the game, and the first person to do so is the winner. Now, if you're playing on normal or easy, though, you only have to go through 3 levels. The game is automatically controlled by the computer. It draws out certain puzzles, and you have to be the first one to guess correctly what it is. You can buzz in at any time during the course of the drawing, and thankfully using computer opponents, while it can sometimes be difficult to be able to actually get in on the buzzer ahead of those opponents, them messing up will actually give you a clue on what the actual puzzle is in case you can't already figure out what exactly the computer is trying to draw for you. And there's actually a surprising number for each of the different colors. You'll also notice at the top of the screen, it'll tell you what type of object it's currently drawing. The pink squares are whatchamacallit, which are the weirdest and strangest of the puzzles by far. For example here, since I've seen many of these before, and there's actually a great guide online, I know that this is actually supposed to be Man in the Moon. As soon as I saw the M and the little stick figure being drawn, that's how I was able to know what it was. This comes from either playing the game a lot of times, or like I said, there is a good guide for the whatchamacallit puzzles. The other ones, though, you're going to have to kind of either figure out by what the computer's drawing, or play enough that you start to memorize and recognize patterns of the drawings. If you get an answer correct, the die will automatically be rolled for you, and you'll be moved ahead to the next space, and then have to solve whatever next puzzle it ends up being. Here's another example of the computer end up getting it wrong, and by them messing it up, I was able to recognize that it's supposed to be over the moon. There's a bunch of moon-related puzzles throughout Anticipation. Now, since we already have this color in particular, we don't get another one. We just get a chance to move again. One of the most difficult things about the game is if you're not controlling the roll of the dice, it's really kind of random. It feels like you don't really have a whole lot of control of exactly what's going on. You just kind of like sit there and wait for the next puzzle to be drawn out so that you're able to get your next answer in. Now here's another example of the computer messing up, and because of that, I'm able to recognize from both computers messing up back to back that the answer to this one is actually double chin. They actually write the word chin on the left side and do an X2. It's actually one of the more clever ones, and there's a few other really kind of clever ones in that whatchamacallit category. The other categories are a little bit more straightforward, with office, tools, and science. With tools being kind of self-explanatory, but even then sometimes you'll see something and be like, that was supposed to be a tool, and the same goes for office or science. It doesn't quite make sense, so you kind of just have to always be paying attention and think outside the box most of the time. This game is especially fun if you get a 4-player multiplayer session going. The game does allow you to use the Nintendo 4-score, one of those few games that actually allows for 4-player actual gameplay. Surprisingly, none of the computers answered here, but as you can see, this is a paintbrush. I think when I was a kid, I was very impressed at just the pictures that the game was able to draw. I don't know, there was still something intriguing about the entire thing. The hardest thing though about the game is trying to land on the spots you actually need, and once you finally land on one, the computer always loves to snipe you, and as soon as you finally get that one color you need, the computer will draw like 2 lines, and then all of a sudden one of your opponents will end up guessing it a lot of the times. Unfortunately, this is one of those examples I didn't quite know what was being drawn, but it ends up being chest. Like I said, chest for office may not necessarily go together, so you kind of just have to ignore it. The pink ones, though, are the ones where you really have to think outside of it, though, the whatchamacallit puzzles. Those are extremely obscure. Sometimes taking other types of pictures from the other categories and then adding something to it to make it more. Like, you may have a crab, but for the whatchamacallit category, it'll be crab apple. They'll actually draw a crab and put the word apple underneath of it. So they're really clever sometimes when it comes to things. For example, this is 1 in a million. Unfortunately, I didn't quite realize that that's what they were going for right away. But yeah, see, it's kind of clever. The good thing is, even if it's not your turn, you can earn the different various squares. And I actually use this to my advantage later on in the game, especially when I make it to level 4. Now this one was one of the ones that definitely confused me because it didn't quite make a whole lot of sense until the computer ended up messing it up, and then I was like, oh, it's supposed to be light switch. And I honestly took a little bit of looking. I had to kind of like cross my eyes. Oh, there's the switch. Okay, cool. Now I realized that it was actually a light switch, which once again, I guess is a type of tool. It's a tool to light up a room. But either way, thankfully, with the computer messing up twice, I was able to do that. If you want to, you can also play the game actually single player all by yourself, trying to go through and just kind of figuring out what all the puzzles are to help you out with multiplayer modes or against the other computer opponents. I get control back of the board, but immediately roll another 1, so I don't land on any of the puzzles that I actually need. But the computer ends up misspelling it, and I already have kind of an idea from where the computer messing up what this one was, but I just let it keep going for a few moments to make sure that it is exactly what I thought it was, which the answer is goosebumps, in case you didn't recognize from the letters missing in the computer's answer. Now, when you're spelling a word down below, you have to be careful because sometimes you'll move a little bit quickly, the button may not recognize or put the letter, or you'll accidentally pass the letter you're looking for by just like 1 or being too early on the list of letters and end up choosing the wrong one. Thankfully, you're allowed to make 1 mistake per answer, but once you make that second mistake, you automatically lose your turn, or you lose that guess, I guess. Thankfully, we actually got a green puzzle once again, and after a little bit of drawing, I was realized that they're going for rocket here, so I'm able to get my green slice here on level number 1. Now, once you complete a level, you move up to the 2nd level or 3rd level, and you aren't able to fall back down. And why I'm even mentioning that is on hard mode, when you introduce to level 4 actually has holes in it. And you can accidentally fall between the holes on the board and go back to the previous level where you're going to have to gain all of the colors again in order to move back up to that 4th and final level. Honestly, when playing with friends, unless you really want a long game, I recommend playing on easy or normal with your fellow human opponents, because 3 levels is more than enough for a competitive game, and level 4 will just sometimes drive you insane. While I still already have my yellow one, I will gladly put in a correct answer to get some chances in order to move around the board, and hopefully land on the one color I need to finally move up to the next level. Finally, another opportunity to try for a blue puzzle, and the computer actually will allow me to take a guess, or at least let it get drawn enough. And the computer, thankfully, gives me the answer I need, which is exclamation point. A little bit tough to spell all this really quickly. You only have like 25 seconds or so to answer, so you have to be kind of quick on some of the longer ones. But thankfully, you also don't have to worry about spaces when it comes to writing your answer. It will automatically make the space for you, so I think that's pretty overall convenient, at least that aspect of it is. Now, once you complete a level by getting all 4 of the colors, you get beamed up automatically onto the next level. You can see the level is differently shaped with different spots, so it's cool that all 4 of the levels definitely look a little bit different from one another. You then start off on the space number 1 and get to start solving the next puzzle. While it looks at first, this one's going to be like a cross, after it starts drawing a little bit more of it, I realize they're going for a shield, very reminiscent of the shield from the original Legend of Zelda. While there was no ever like established kind of religion in the original Zelda, or in the Zelda universe at all, especially as the series went going, the original actually did have some religious symbolism with the cross, and in fact, even the book in the Japanese version of Zelda was called the Bible. After a mistake from the computer here, I'm lucky that I saw it and realized that it's Whistle, which is actually one of those puzzles I've actually had a lot, but I always seem to mess up and not realize if it's drawing a whistle because the way it starts off the line for it, of course I'm going straight to the right and then in kind of that loop, but it's a whistle. Without the computer messing it up, I probably wouldn't have gotten that one, but luckily it does, so that I'm able to immediately be able to move again, and have an opportunity for 3 spots in a row here. Now, it doesn't tell you what the type of puzzle is anymore, because after level 1, you should probably recognize what the categories are. The thing is, though, this one was, I think, going to be more than what it was, but after it kept drawing, I decided to go ahead and take a guess at it for it being ship. So, for being a pink puzzle, a pretty easy one there. It's kind of hard to tell initially what's going on, but it was like, oh, that's ship. Cool, I'll take that one. And able now to go right to the green. Now, like I said, one thing I really do wish in the game is they would let you actually roll. It would have just made the game overall a little bit more enjoyable, or feel like you have more control. Now, this is actually a relatively easy puzzle. I've had it a whole bunch of times, and just because of the dot formation, you can kind of tell already that it's actually butterfly. There's dots that are already on the screen, or kind of keys sometimes, especially if you're trying to remember. Like if you just like play the game a whole lot and you kind of remember some of the key puzzles. Oh, there's a couple of dots here already. I have an idea what puzzle it probably is, and after seeing just a second or two of its drawing, you can sometimes guess it. So there's little dots that are kind of in place there to help you out. Really, really come in handy. Level 2, though, was pretty easy to get through for me, and I move up to level 3, which introduces another type of space to the map, the gray space. Now, this space allows you to go to any other space if you land on it. You'll actually fly around the board, and when you press the button, you'll land on a space of your choosing. So you can use this, especially on level 4, to pinpoint exactly what color you need. This one, though, I did not guess right away at all that was supposed to be the boombox, but as it finishes, you can clearly see that that's what the game was going for. The good thing is, though, even though the other opponents are on the bottom floor at this point in the game, if they land on a space that I don't have already and I guess it correct, I get that color. Unlike a lot of other board games similar to this, like your Pictionary or your Trivial Pursuit sometimes, where you'll not be able to steal the answer from your opponent and actually get credit for it, but you get the credit while doing it in this. This is another one that, because the computer messed up, I was able to guess oil can. which actually also kind of looks like a magic lamp at first, but then you can see, oh, that's what they're going for. So I get my yellow piece, and I get to roll the die and move on to the next spot. Like I said though, there is a good amount of different puzzles in the game. After a little bit of drawing here, I guess it's Bugle. I've had this one a lot. I played about 10 or so matchups before I decided to go ahead and work on doing a video for the game, and Bugle for some reason came up more than once. In fact, 2 games, for some reason, Bugle was the first of the puzzles I ended up getting. This is another one that's instantly recognizable. Once I saw that the line went past that bottom part, this is Crab. Because of Crab and Crab Apple, I've seen it a couple of times. Basically, on the pink space, if you saw that same exact design, I would have known it was Crab Apple, even without them having to do too much more than that. Now this is one that I didn't recognize, though you'd think cat would be something that I would have instantly been able to tell that that's what they were drawing, but oh well, the computer ends up getting the advantage on that one. Unfortunately, though, they don't land on a pink space, so we'll have to go to a yellow puzzle. There's a whole bunch of instruments, musical instruments, and especially weaponry that's used in the tool category. There's like 3 or 4 different guns that sometimes come up. This one, because of the shape, you can tell by kind of like the Mickey Mouse looking things that this is actually a pair of scissors. Now, unfortunately, I don't land on pink, but because I land on the feature square, the gray square, I can then travel around the board and land on one of the pink spots to try my best at trying to get this puzzle correct. With the 3 dots and the way it's set up, you can see a little bit of it, but as I type it out, submarine. This is another one of the pink ones. It's kind of just a more common thing. There you'll see with ship and submarine. There's 3 dots, though, help give it away. Now, I've actually completed level 3, and I move up to level 4, but the game is far from over, because level 4, like I mentioned before, is extremely obnoxious. All those blank spots on the map, or on the board, I can fall through. If I mess up, I can fall through them. There we go, as we have note, which initially my thing would be the right music note, but it's actually just note. Also kind of looks like the St. Louis Blues logo because of just the, I guess, the blue background and all that. But there's my bad luck right away. I end up falling down to floor number 3. Now I keep my blue square, but I now have to gain a green, a yellow, and a pink square down here, and then I get to go back to the top floor, and I have no pieces at that point. So that blue I just got only works for level 3 now, because of what happened. Another fairly easy, recognizable puzzle of mushroom, from the way that things were kind of drawing there. But here we get a 4, which we're going to be lucky to land on another yellow spot, so I can try to get 3 out of 4 here and try to move back up to that top part. This is another one that, because of the mistake, I can end up typing in dynamite. Or I can attempt to type dynamite, but I screw it up. But thankfully I get one more shot to type in the rest of the word, and there we go. Anytime also no one gets a puzzle correct, if the timer ends up running out, it just picks another puzzle from that same color and ends up going right into it. So it's not like you lose a turn if you can't figure out a particular puzzle. Here is one of the many types of gun puzzles. The more and more it gets drawn out, though, you can see it's a classic old school musket is what actually is being drawn here. Unfortunately, I end up rolling a 2, so it doesn't look like we're going to be going back up to level 4 quite yet. This is another one that kind of has a really weird drawing to it, at least the way it kind of starts off. But after the computer messed it up, I realized that it was going for radio. You can just see the way it's kind of set up. Plus, it's a really old, because it's a 1980s game. The radio that is chosen to be drawn here is not necessarily what you may think now would be a typical radio. This is another one that's a little bit weird because it's so big, but it's actually bullet. But it was like one of those ones, oh, okay, it's bullet, but because it's so big and we just drew a musket, like, the same size, it's just one of those things that took a few moments for me to realize it. But thank you, computer, like always, for making those mistakes. The game is much harder if you just kind of like play even just by yourself, with no computer opponents, and just trying to guess everything. It'll maybe even take you longer if you don't get those little extra guesses from the computer making mistakes. There was no way I was going to be able to guess that one just from that little bit. So the computer ends up grabbing that one like as soon as the drawing ended up beginning. But now I just have to keep going until eventually I can get a puzzle piece for the pink side so we can finally make it back up to that next level and maybe get to stay on level 4 this time around. This is another one I didn't quite recognize as Bolt ended up being the answer, but luckily it wasn't one of the pink puzzles, so it's not like I'm going to be penalized. The computer is thankfully still pretty far away from me, so I don't have to really worry about them all too much. Now here's one of my favorites in the game. This is Three Wise Men. It's like a bad pun of a drawing, but they draw 3 Ys and then they'll draw a stick figure on the opposite side as the full puzzle. But as soon as the Ys start coming out, I know this one quite well. It's hysterical actually. But yes, 3 Wise Men is this puzzle, and there you go, there's the guy. So yeah, because you get it, Wise, and there's a Y. Yeah, exactly. Now, once we get moved up back to level 4, we start back off on that blue spot, but we have to, once again, try to collect them without getting a bad dice roll. The computer didn't really help me on that guess, that's for sure. But after that mistake from the computer, now I realized it's harp. But even then, it's kind of difficult to tell that that's supposed to be a harp until I guess, of course, all the rest of it comes in, but... I also get lucky that it rolls a 3 for me, so I get to land on the yellow spot here, and I don't accidentally end up falling into the pit down below again. At least not yet. The only negative, though, is unfortunately I didn't realize what this was. It's supposed to be nunchucks, but I definitely couldn't tell what it was. And I knew it wasn't dynamite because the long string at the end of it, but yeah, that's supposed to be nunchucks. The good thing is, though, even though I don't get it right, so I can't get another piece yet, if any of the colors down below end up landing, I can still earn myself another piece before I I have to actually roll again myself, so that's a plus. Before I could buzz in on the pen here. Thankfully, pen and office, at least that actually goes together, so that's like a thumbs up that we ended up getting pen there for office for the blue one. And this is a good opportunity once again for me because of that pink square. If I'm able to get a whatchamacallit puzzle here, it could really help out. This is one of the ones I realized too late, because as soon as I was about to buzz in and realized it was Blue Moon, the opponent ended up buzzing in for me, and they take it. But yeah, Blue Moon, like I said, there's a bunch of moon-related ones in the whatchamacallit category, but oh well. Another one goes to the computer. This is one that definitely caught me off guard. I didn't recognize right away until it ends up getting completely drawn, and it kind of like was one of the things like, what? What's that thing called? Tuning fork. It's a tuning fork. Yes, that's what that's supposed to be. A term that you don't really use all that often. Plus, you're in the science category. I don't know. It's kind of a stretch for me with tuning fork, but. So now we have 2 pieces on the top, and we end up rolling a 2, so we are safe on the top floor. For now it is, because we're able to get past and land. We have to do another blue spot, which won't really benefit us. So at a case like this, sometimes it's best just to intentionally lose the category, because it's already a spot we have, so why risk getting it right and then getting a bad roll? If we're going to get it, we might as well get a good roll. So usually sometimes if I get a situation like this, I'll just let the computer guess and get it correct, and then I'll let them keep going until I'm able to get a spot that I actually could use. It's a pretty weird one, and the computer doesn't even get it anyway, as it's ends up the time runs out for it. But like I said, if you don't get it correct, if no one ends up guessing it, it goes right into another one of the same exact puzzle. But like I just said, I'm not going to be guessing it, I'm just going to let them kind of fend it for it until they finally get one correctly, which they're able to here with drum. I didn't recognize it anyway, so thankfully I didn't need that one. But now what I'll do is I'll wait until they land on a yellow or a pink spot down below, and I can guess that one and have an opportunity in order to try to take it. Now this would be a great opportunity for me, but after only like 2 lines, the computer guessed what it was, which is extinguisher, which no way was I guessing extinguisher from those 3 lines. I had no clue. So good for you, computer. You got that one perfectly fine. Another reason why also I play on the hard instead of very hard is because sometimes on very hard, they just guess it after like 2 lines, and it's really, really hard to win against computer opponents on very hard. It's doable, but it's just really challenging. I wanted to make sure I played through the game, show you all 4 levels of the game's board, but still be able to actually complete it. Now this is a weird one too that I didn't recognize really kind of at all. It's thermometer. But even from the computer messing up, I honestly wasn't quite sure what it was supposed to be. Now the computer moves up to level 2, automatically starting on the yellow spot, so I'm like on my toes, I'm like, come on, I can get this one right, but it ends up being another one of the guns, but I didn't recognize what it was until unfortunately it was too late. The computer ends up taking another yellow one, like right from my grasp by getting pistol correct. The good thing is, though, they land on a pink spot, so I can try to get a hold of this pink question. This is another one of those ones where I get a lucky break of the computer messing it up because I didn't recognize it right away. But as soon as you can just look at that spelling and tell the blanks, oh, it's Jack in the Box. There's no doubt. Even though I accidentally missed the C, it is one of those deals where it's like I moved too quickly. I thought I hit the button on it, but I get too excited and end up skipping it. And thankfully, I get that second chance to try to spell it out. I get a good roll. It doesn't land where I quite want it, but now I only need the yellow in order to win. Now what I could do is, of course, mess it up intentionally and wait until they land on a yellow spot, and then I'm going to instantly win. That's the smart strategy here, as the computer ends up getting Volcano away from me, so I'm not unfortunately able to even get it correct here. The other hope, though, is if the computer gives me one I can get, and I'm able to either roll directly to a yellow or roll a lower number and hope to get to a gray spot, one of the feature spots. It would be smarter, though, just to wait for the yellow, but they kind of lined me up a very easy pink whatchamacallit question, and I couldn't resist, and I ended up answering it. As you can see, it's a dog, but what they're going for actually is hot dog. So, either way, I answer it. This is kind of a risk, because of course I could end up rolling a low number and end up falling through. But thankfully the roll's in my favor. I end up rolling a 3. I'm going to land on that feature spot, which now allows me to go to any of the 2 other yellow spots on the board and attempt to try to get the game-winning one. Now, if you actually have a turbo controller and land on the same gray spot, you can actually activate a gray feature puzzle, which ends up picking a random other puzzle from the game, one of the other random ones, but you don't get any points for it. You don't get one of the colors. I get lucky, though. The computer misspells it, and I realize that it's going for H-bomb. I thought normally it would be A-bomb, but I remember having the puzzle before and messing it up by putting A-bomb. But either way, there it is, H-bomb, which is the 4th color I need on level 4, and that means my little pair of shoes is the winner, and we get warped up into the grand anticipation winner's chamber and get to see the ending to the game. And there you go. That's all you end up getting for completing it. there is Anticipation for the NES. It's a very fun game. I recommend checking it out. If you've never, for some reason, ever played it with multiple friends, it may be worth checking out as a little fun, classic retro party game. Far from being an amazing experience, but it actually can be quite fun with the right people. But anyway, guys, that will wrap up this episode of Play It Through. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider giving me a thumbs up or commenting down below. If you enjoyed this board game style game from Rare, you may want to check out one they did based on a game show, based on the classic Nickelodeon game show, Double Dare. I did a play it through for that game quite a long time ago. You can check it out by clicking the footage on the other side of the screen. And of course, I want to thank all the members of my Patreon. Your guys' continued support really does keep this channel alive. I cannot state that enough. If you're interested in helping out this channel, there's a lot of ways to do so, including clicking the little Patreon button down below. As little as $1 a month can really help out and really keep things going here. Of course, there's other plenty of ways to help by sharing this video, sharing the channel with your friends or family or whoever you want to share it with. And of course, watching the ads. I know ads are a pain in the butt, but ads do help keep the channel going too. So you can always turn that ad blocker off, even if it's just for me or for any content creator that you like. Do so. It does actually help them out and help myself out as well. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoy.